Hello, good evening. This is Robbie B, live from Ahmed Shawky Museum. It is now 15 to 6, 45 minutes till the doors open and registration starts. And we have here with us a number of crew members and people working in the museum. We're still setting the cameras and projector and stuff like that.
Maria Costanza Garida, and I'm the art organizer, and especially the art section that's gonna take over there. And we're gonna do a live mural. At the same time, the music will be playing.
That's very nice. Can you tell us also about the decorations that you were responsible of?
They're very minimalistic, and they're basically cutouts in the shape of the same pear or apple that is on the flyer.
Mayzini. My role is like one of the organizers. That's about it, yani.
Tell us about yourself as a vegetarian.
I've been vegetarian for around 3 years. I started as a tryout for a week and then I didn't stop. I'm feeling good and I like it.
Very, very good. Favorite dish?
Veggie lasagna.
My name is Mayada Wadniri, known as Maya, which is much easier, and I'm filming the Veggie Fest.
So, do you have anything to say about vegetarianism?
Well, I'm not a vegetarian personally, but I don't really eat meat much, so that's my philosophy about it. It's like eat a little meat and you'll be like healthy enough. I don't know. I'm actually interested about the what do you call discussions that are going to happen. So I want to know more about it. Yeah, that's the most interesting part, and of course the music part. Because I want to play some music.
What do you play?
Now I play the doof, some percussions. I play guitar, but I thought today like some percussions would be good.
My name's Heba Habib, and I am holding the donation box.
How do you hold it exactly?
With loving care.
Excellent.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Habib. I am the sister of the person holding the donation box. I'm sorry, I don't know her.
Do you hold the box together?
No, it's a tiny box. I don't need to hold it with her.
All right. Actually, tell us more about the designs of the box, because this is for our internet audience who are going to hear this and maybe possibly see a picture of this or something. So describe the design.
The design is basically a flower. It's like a flower. It's not pot. It's one of those larger tubs, I suppose. And I made it all out of recycled materials. And yes, because I'm cheap.
Cheap is the way to go.
Cheap is the way to go. And it's supposed to be very jolly, and it's supposed to express the spirit of vegetarianism, which is just being jolly.
What flowers do you have?
What do I have? There's a sunflower, there's a blue daisy, a blue African daisy, and a pink chrysanthemum, I guess, and a purple violet.
That looks like a red poppy. That looks like a pink poppy.
There's no such thing as pink poppies.
Well, I know.
Imaginary
Heba, would you tell us about yourself as a vegetarian? How long have you been a vegetarian, and why did you become a vegetarian?
I've been vegetarian for 11 years now. I started when I was 11 years old. I'm now 22. So,
Wow.
yeah. I started becoming vegetarian because I always found the idea of eating meat very repellent, and I was under the influence of George Bernard Shaw at the time. Yes, and and I thought, if he can produce so many plays while being vegetarian, maybe I can do the same.
And Gandhi.
And Gandhi. Actually, I was under the influence of Gandhi at the time as well. So yeah, I was 11. I was like very idealistic and still am idealistic to a certain extent. A little less so, but vegetarian. It served me well during the last 11 years, I think.
What's your favorite veggie dish?
Aubergine pasta bake. Nice.
Favorite dessert?
Favorite dessert?
What about my cauliflower?
Oh, Randa makes excellent cauliflower
I make this broccoli, cauliflower, sweet and no, not sweet and sour, mustard sweet and sour sauce.
Yes.
Nice. So this is an event for you, and it's an event also by you, and that's what's interesting about this event. The idea is that, you know, you're making this event happen by your participation, by making music, by making art, by having discussions, by making food, by eating food, by enjoying everything. So your participation is very important. So to give you an idea about how we're going to do it, we have 3 lectures by 3 very interesting people, and May will introduce them very shortly, and then that will be followed by a Q&A where you can ask any questions regarding vegetarianism and such, and then we'll go and enjoy the delicious food over there, and maybe drink something, tea or juice or water, and then we'll come back here at around 9 to jam or sing or recite poetry, and there will be a live mural at the same time. So, you know, everyone is encouraged to express themselves artistically. We're not going to be judging anyone, so it's very important that you know, express yourself. So I'm going to hand the mic to May to introduce the speakers tonight. Thank you.
All right, أنا مي الزيني. I'm one of the organizers working on this festival. Now we will start with the first section, which is basically the discussions. The first talk is going to be by Mr. Ahmed Durghami. He's an environmental management consultant. He's one of the co-founder of the Green Arm of Nahdat al-Mahrusa, which works in raising the awareness of the environment and promote collaboration among environment groups and activists. He's also the co-founder of Cairo Cyclers Club. He will be talking briefly about the impact of food choices on the environment. Please welcome Mr. Ahmed Durghami.
Thank you, man. Hi, everyone. I'd like to thank May and Robert first for having me here. This is probably the most peaceful crowd I've ever talked to. It's not exactly like talking to in an event about industrial pollution in the cement sector, which was a recent activity I was involved in. So thank you for having me. Today I'll be talking about the environmental impact of food choices we make. I won't only be talking about meat and pork, but also about other things such as packaging and storage, the entire life cycle of our food. I just want to tell you something. Most people think that climate change, of course, the greenhouse gas emissions are mostly attributed to transportation, and it's associated with stacks and industrial emissions and all that. But actually there's a report in 2006 by the Food and Agricultural Organization called The Long Shadow of Livestock meaning cattle and all that, revealing that out of the global emissions of greenhouse gases, 18% comes from livestock, the livestock industry. And actually, the study also mentioned that transportation was 13%. So this gives you a sense of perspective. So actually, it's a big issue. Now, I don't like to explain stuff as if, I mean, environmental. It's not rocket science. I usually like to use some nice illustrations. These are some activities that we can all practice to take action for the environment. Of course, here I'm just talking about climate change, but there are also other aspects to environment, such as toxic waste, such as agricultural practices and all that. This is just one aspect, which is climate change. What I'll be talking about today is, very briefly, the livestock industry, and also how we choose our food. Oh, sorry. So what I just want you to come out of this presentation today with is an understanding of what life cycle assessments are. How many people have heard this term before? Okay, perfect. So, what is a life cycle assessment? A life cycle assessment means looking at a product. This is your mindset. You look at a product and you think about the entire life cycle from cradle to grave, to its disposal. Which means, for example, if we take, can I have a random food item today? What did you bring today, for example? For example? Someone. Excuse me? Couscousi. Okay. Let's take the sugar that's used in the Indian style is sweet, right? With sugar. Oh, it's not. Okay, in Egypt it's with sugar. Tell me an ingredient. Okay, cinnamon. It's an agricultural ingredient, for example. So if you talk about the life cycle of this cinnamon, you'll start thinking, okay, what is the environmental impact? First of all, this cinnamon was planted somewhere. Planting something involves using pesticides, chemical fertilizers. Where do these come from? Chemical fertilizers come from a factory which uses natural gas, it uses electricity. Electricity comes from petroleum. Most of the electricity in Egypt, for example, comes from the oil fossil fuels. The pesticides, they have an environmental impact. If they're used excessively, you can have residual pesticides in the food that you're eating. If it's organic, it wouldn't have this problem. So this is just one aspect during the agricultural phase. Then this cinnamon is being processed later in a factory. When it's being processed in the factory, same issue. You have electricity use, you have water consumption as well. And you have disposal of liquids and solids and gases from the factory. This is in the processing. And then you start talking about the packaging of the cinnamon until you find it on your supermarket. So packaging also involves producing plastics, and plastics involves producing solid wastes, etc. And then something very important after that is transportation. Chances are this cinnamon is maybe 55,000 kilometers away, the source, the factory. Transportation, whether by sea or air or land, it involves also using fossil fuels and emitting. All of these emissions and impacts are calculated in something called the life cycle assessment of a product. And then it arrives to the supermarket, and then we use it and we dispose of it. Of course, disposal, as you can see, littering is one of the biggest problems in Egypt. Disposal is also another big environmental issue. So you have to take this into account. So there are different means of disposal, including recycling, which brings us to the cradle-to-cradle concept. So when we say life cycle assessment now, I think all of you understand what the life cycle of a product means. So next time you look at a product, you can think about and reflect about all of these things that are associated with all the environmental impacts associated with the product. Okay, and one other important thing during this life cycle is the refrigeration. For example, if you're talking about meat, it's being refrigerated sometimes up to 1 year or more. It depends on the different products. So it is actually something good to resort to your local sources of food. So this is why you have this figure here saying, buy fresh fruit, not frozen, buy local, things like that. Yeah. So regarding meat, I was just mentioning the FAO figure that 18% of global greenhouse gas emissions, according to that report, comes from livestock industry. Actually, cattle are, especially cows, are one of the biggest emitters. Basically, they burp and fart, and they emit a lot of methane. Methane is converted to CO2 in calculations because it also has a global warming potential. It's actually 21 times heavier than CO2 in terms of global warming potential, 21 times more. there are also other emissions such as nitrogen oxide and other stuff, which is, for example, 296 times more heavier than CO2 in terms of global warming. So there are other gases as well. It's not just CO2. So I've talked a bit about solid waste and liquid waste and emissions and climate change and all of this. This is all involved in the carbon, in the life cycle assessment. And we have to also remember when we're talking about livestock that, for example, in the LCA of beef, we will think about the entire cycle of raising and breeding the cattle. Currently, 70% of the Amazon rainforest, for example, has been cleared for grazing. So this is horrible. Why is this? It's because we want to eat more meat. Even the countries that don't have meat in their normal diet, today they have meat in their normal diet, such as in Asia, for example. And people are demanding meat as our economy grows. I just want to add one thing, that the grains that the cows eat or the cattle eat are 7 times as much grain as a human being eats. So, I mean, I would personally rather give this grain to 7 human beings than a cow. Also, cows consume water that is already scarce in Egypt, and there are many other impacts that I can explain more, of course, after the presentation if anybody is interested. I don't want to dwell too much into this. I have just a quick slide about, it's a nice illustration by the Hindu Carbon Initiative in Edinburgh in England. It's just a nice illustration I wanted to show. It's just showing different types of food products and how much carbon emissions they emit. And if these carbon emissions were emitted by a car, then this would be the comparison. For example, beef, about 16 kilometers of travel. I've seen other sources that say 50 kilometers, so it depends on the source. This seems a bit conservative. So this is a bit of background. When you start reading about the impact of food choices, maybe now it's a bit easier to understand the dimensions, and you can choose something better, change a habit in your lifestyle. So there are many things to do, and these are a few of them. Okay, thank you very much.
Ahmed, now would think more about eating, even if we're not vegetarians, then you would think more about eating local food and think more how this food is there for us and stuff like this. We'll take questions after all the presentations are done. Now our second speaker is Leslie. She's the author of The Alchemy of Dance, Sacred Dance as a Path to a Universal Dancer. Leslie has international certificates in hypnotherapy, touch for health, and aromatherapy, and she holds a bachelor's in psychology and biochemistry. She will talk briefly on how the body is a temple and that house our soul, and how important it is for us to think about the food we eat for this body. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome, all of you. It's nice to see so many people interested in food and what we're eating and the environment and all these things. My focus really is more from a spiritual or energetic perspective. This is the kind of work that I do. So I'm going to talk about the body as a temple and the choices that we make, and more about conscious living, which obviously includes vegetarianism, but it's not exclusively vegetarianism or different types of vegetarianism. We are impacted by the environment. I think someone's going to talk about animals. So there is actually the kind of external reasons for going into vegetarianism, but there's also the more internal ones. This is our body. What we put into it is important, not just what we put into it, but how we put things into it. So I want to focus more on that. Food really is about nourishment, and how do we nourish the body? How do we nourish the soul? And all of this really comes, again, one of the aspects is the food that we put into it. So really my focus is more on conscious living and just being conscious about what you're doing, which is really what this gathering is about. I think some of you are vegetarians, some of you are not vegetarians, and it's really about just being conscious of the choices that we make. So vegetarianism is one way. There's many types of vegetarianism. We can talk about raw foods or vegan diets, but I think it's really coming back to that, what are we putting in our bodies? Why are we putting it in our bodies? Unfortunately, there is a lot of marketing, so it's often not easy to know what's in the food that we're eating. We just saw a presentation that's telling us to eat things, for example, that are maybe locally grown. This, again, from a more metaphysical perspective, is very important because those actual foods are grown in the same environment that we're living in, okay? So they're subjected to the same things. So really eating things that are grown locally is important, not just from the environmental perspective, but also from your own personal perspective. But again, we go back to that idea of nourishing the body. So it's what we're putting in the body, it's where we're getting what we're putting in the body, but also how are we doing this? And I think that this is something that maybe people don't think a lot about. I didn't, up until it came into my face quite clearly, that when we prepare food, this is actually a sacred experience. The energy that we put into making our food, okay? We have the energy of the food. How is it grown? Where does it come from? Is it, if it's an animal product, you would have to consider the state of the animal. And I think this is one of the, probably the next speaker might get into this a little bit more, but there are many things that come through. If we're eating animal products, you know, there's the fear element. There's all these things that we don't necessarily think about. And unfortunately, we need to think about it because our lifestyle has gotten very complicated. So we need to think about the other levels of what's going on with our food. As I said, how we prepare it. Conscious living or sacred living really is about being conscious of what you're doing, being present in the whole experience. And as I said, we're talking about nourishment, so nourishing the body. How we prepare the food. If you're angry, don't cook. This is not the time to do it. And as a parent, I think you begin to realize that this whole process of nourishing your children or your family really is a sacred experience. And it's the energy that you're putting into what you're doing. I became a vegetarian when I was 18, I think, and it was back in the 70s, 78. And really, this book, I don't know if you've read it or you know anything about it, it's called Diet for a Small Planet. And I imagine that it's still in print, but really it's talking about all of the things probably that have come up, but how much of our grain and that sort of thing goes into producing animal proteins. It talks about complementary proteins, and I don't know that anybody's going to speak about that, but again, you know, one of the biggest arguments against vegetarianism is about proteins, which is not in fact true. My daughter became a vegetarian, I think she was 7. She decided she's not going to eat meat anymore. And we were living here, and this was a problem because, you know, people thought, her grandmother kept saying she needs to eat meat, and I'd say no, she needs to eat protein. And so I think it's important to educate people that meat is a type of protein, but there are other proteins. So I think part of my journey was with myself when I became a vegetarian. And again, in the 70s, I was in the United States. It still wasn't all that popular. It wasn't easy to find foods. But I think a lot of it really is about this educational process. I think when she became a vegetarian, she wasn't getting support from, you know, maybe the family, but she was getting support from me, so that was something. But again, people need to be educated about how you nourish your body, whether these are proteins, not proteins, and again, we can go into any extreme. Ultimately, the less processed food is. Raw foods are probably the best thing for your body. As a child, I was a fruitarian, and this was a big problem. So they said, no, you have to eat other things. And again, that's in the 60s, so people really didn't know what this meant or what to do about it. But I think that also each person has a diet that is the best for them. And this is something that you need to investigate. And again, this is about that concept of consciousness. What does your body need? And we need to be aware of that. Whether you're vegetarian or you eat a little bit of meat, or you're vegan, or you're a fruitarian, or whatever you are, it needs to be a conscious choice. Hopefully you're doing it because it's what you want to do. It's what makes you feel best. And I think that's, again, another process of awareness, is what type of food actually makes me feel good. And you have to investigate this. There's people that say you should eat for your blood type. Maybe that's true. But you need to investigate it. You need to see what works best for you. And I think it's good to explore different things. This is giving you an opportunity. Tonight we have a very nice vegetarian meal after the talks. And you can explore vegetarianism and really get to know what it is and how it works best for you. Maybe there are some people that say, no, I need to eat some meat. Maybe you do. But the point is that you need to explore this. This is a journey that you need to take. And it seems that there's a lot of support for different types of lifestyles, different types of, obviously, there will probably be more information, I'm guessing, coming about vegetarianism. There's a lot of people here. I think a lot of you are not vegetarians, but a lot of you are. So people can support you in that and help to educate you. Because ultimately, you need to find the information for yourself. And again, this is a way to go back to that sacred living, to really connect with nature, to connect with the food, the way your food is prepared, where it came from, and what's in it. You know, nutritionally. Unfortunately, this isn't something that's really taught like in school. And I think that's unfortunate, because these are really practical things that we should know. Like, really, what are proteins? All kinds of proteins. Where do I get calcium from? So I think that you're going to have to educate yourselves, because it isn't something that, for whatever reason, seems to be important in the educational system. And again, this takes us more to this spiritual aspect of, we need to rise above kind of what's just presented, you know, either through schools or kind of mainstream, and really go into what's really out there, or what are the possibilities, or what's really in my food, or what are my choices. And that's going to be a journey that you take, and a very individual journey. Okay, so I'm going to just wrap it up, and again, I think we're having questions at the end, so if there's any questions, I can answer them later. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Now we'll have our final and last speaker, Nadia Muntasir. She's been a vegetarian for the last 5 years. She's an environmental animal rights activist. I'm going to speak very briefly about reasons why you should go vegetarian, and then I'm going to show you a video that might open your eyes a little bit more on what you're contributing to by eating meat. Very briefly, some of the reasons include protecting your health. If there's any doctor amongst us here today, he would probably tell you that meat eaters are more prone to heart attacks, diabetes, cancer, and other diseases. Whereas non-meat eaters, they have lower risk of having any problems like that, health problems. Studies have also found out that vegetarians are less likely to be overweight than meat eaters.
The second reason is stopping environmental pollution. My friend Ahmed explained earlier how you can contribute to environmental pollution and climate change if you continue eating meat. A very small example يعني, to tell you how this happens is that that being vegan or vegetarian does more to fight against climate change than does switching from a standard car to a hybrid one. Raising animals for food also requires vast amount of raw materials, land and water. You can also stop poverty. You can fight poverty by going vegetarian because 16 pounds of grain helps produce one pound of edible flesh. So 16 pounds of grain, they could be consumed much more better if they are eaten directly by humans. So in that way you can help fight poverty. You could Google that, if you doubt the information, you could Google it and find out more how you can help poverty, fight poverty. The last reason, of course, is cruelty to animals. You can prevent cruelty to animals, and as Quran tells us, animals are communities and nations unto their own, just like us. They are more than just resources. I know a lot of people debate this and they say that they are resources and God created them for us to use, but they are also communities. On factory farms, which are becoming the dominant means of meat, egg and milk production throughout the world, animals are treated as nothing but machines. They are confined to extremely small spaces and routinely debeaked, dehorned, castrated and branded, all without being given any painkillers. During transport as well, animals are typically denied food and water and are given no protection from extreme weather, and sometimes they are allowed to languish for days while waiting for slaughter. Many smart and sensitive farmed animals are still kicking and crying out while their throats are being slit. Halal should mean humane, but our undercover investigations throughout the Muslim countries, they have shown that none of the halal practices are there. And I'm going to show you now a video that might open your eyes a little bit. It's got some شوية مناظر. I hope you have strong hearts to watch this. It's going to take 15 minutes.
Number 5. Because in every package of chicken, there's a little poop.
Number 6.
Because meat is filthy and bloody.
Number 7.
Because no living creature wants to see her family slaughtered. You hear that?
Number 10.
Because mad cow disease
Is in the U.S.
Number 11.
because it's violence you can stop.
We can stop.
Number 12.
Because no one should have to make a living by killing. Number 13. Because it takes a small person to beat a defenseless animal, and an even smaller person to eat it. Number 15. Because the grain used to feed them could feed them.
You need more?
Because they're defenseless.
Because when animals feel pain, they scream too. Because they don't want to die.
Because they feel fear.
Because no matter how you slice it, it's still flesh. Because commerce is no excuse for murder. Because everyone wants to be free.
Go to actually maybe Leslie. I was actually going to ask maybe in terms of health, a lot of the hormones that are being pumped into animals these days are actually also coming into our own system once we consume them. So I was actually asking about how these
hormones or genetically modified organisms can actually affect us on from a health perspective.
Well, they do, and that's one of the issues about like how an animal is raised or how they're slaughtered. But I mean, it also goes into how your food, whether it's vegetables or whatever. Energetically, it's very different. We know from science that atoms retain a memory of where they came from. So you can't say that something isn't somehow connected to the source of where it came from. And definitely we're seeing changes in people's bodies and things, and I'm sure a lot of it is due to what's coming through their food, whether it's, vegetable or meat. But what you've just seen, you can imagine the amount of adrenaline that you must be, and cortisol and all these kind of chemicals that you must be eating when you're eating meat, just because that's what was happening to the animal.
Well, I was actually going to ask me in terms of even symptoms. We read a lot of stuff in the newspapers and in articles and things about how, hormones pumped into chickens, for instance, have caused, males to, grow breasts or something along that line. Like, I'm just wondering if you know.
No, definitely. And there is, and again, I'm sure you can go online and you get very specific information, but it is. And people's body types, all kinds of things are changing. And I think, because food industry is such a big industry, I'm sure that a lot of this information doesn't come out, or there isn't as much research about it as we would like, just because it is a money-making thing. So, yeah, you will find, but definitely people's bodies are changing. And not only that, I mean, emotionally, hormones very much affect your own emotions, and I'm sure that, things have changed, like with childbearing and women and different, issues that they have. And I'm sure that a lot of that is related to all the hormones that they're eating and taking in. Estrogen is a big one that's injected into animals because it makes them gain weight, just water weight. That's why when you cook meat, it generally reduces to almost nothing. So imagine if you're taking that in, we know like if you're taking some kind of a hormone pill, what it's doing to your body. You're getting it, but you're getting it in a different form. So yes, definitely.
First of all, Islam did not order you to eat meat. It gave you a license to eat meat under certain conditions, if you know how to slaughter properly. Unfortunately, this is very difficult. It's very, very difficult to keep in mind all the conditions while slaughtering an animal. There are 6 conditions. First of all, while transferring animals, it has to be done in a very humane way. This does never, ever, ever happens. I think most of you drive through the streets of Cairo and you see the animals crammed on the truck and they are tied. It's really bad. You can never ensure that this happens. This is the first condition. The other one is that the animals should never see each other being slaughtered. This never happens in Cairo or anywhere else. The blade, the knife should be very, very sharp. It rarely happens. And the animal should not see the knife. The animal should not see blood or smell blood in the place that you're going to slaughter it in. And you cannot dismember any part of the animal before all the movement in the animal stops. This doesn't happen because the butchers they want to do everything very quickly because of all the people who want to slaughter. But they do not wait until all the movement stops in the body. But if you can make sure that all these conditions are fulfilled, then okay, you can eat meat, but you cannot eat too much. Even Prophet Muhammad told us to eat 1/3 of what we can actually eat. If you can fulfill all these, then okay, you can eat, but not too much.
How you should, the people response, like not saying yes, I know, I believe.
You should not care about what people respond. This is what you do, and this is what you.
There's a special way that you should treat their mentality.
I'll tell you one thing. There are some scholars actually who encourage vegetarianism as part of Islam. Actually, you can go to islamveg.org if you want more information about this, and they are supporting their teachings with verses from Quran and the Prophet's saying. Go to islamveg.org, and you'll find a lot of answers and a lot of debate about this amongst the Islamic scholars.
We'll take 2 more questions.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for availing the time to educate us. Second thing, what about milk? Is it okay to drink milk, or because it's definitely very important for pregnant women, for example. So how does it go?
He's asking about the milk.
I think you also have to go back to the. He was asking about drinking milk, and again, there are many sources that you can get the same nutrients from, whether it's protein, calcium. Actually, if milk is processed, is not a really good source of calcium. Something like tahina is better. So I think that you again go back to what is it that you're really looking for from drinking milk. Maybe you enjoy it, but I mean, you're talking about pregnant women. There's a lot of other foods that they can have that they don't need to drink milk. There's a lot of other foods that would be high in calcium or protein or whatever. So this again is educating yourself about what food really contains. And as I said, if milk is pasteurized, you don't get calcium from it. So this is kind of a myth, and there's lots of myths about foods. They may contain something, but do you actually get it out of the food? If something is pasteurized, it's bonded so strongly that you can't absorb it. So yes, you want to have calcium, but get it from a source that you're actually going to absorb it from. And again, I think with all of these things, if you were raising your own cows, then probably the amount of milk that you would take would not be that big. If you have your own farm, and again, if you're slaughtering in an appropriate way, then it's a whole different thing. But things that are mass-produced, I think you have to really look at, what are you really getting from whatever that is.
One last question.
I don't have a question, but I'd like to add something, if possible. Is it possible if I come there? It's okay? Thank you. I'm Dr. Chirayu Thakkar. I'm a medical doctor by profession, but of a different kind, alternative medicine and yoga as a therapy. So I'd like to point out a few other points regarding vegetarianism and everything. I come from India. My wife comes from India. Our generations have never had meat, any kind of meat. We've had milk, but no kind of meat, no nothing at all. We come from a part of India which is vegetarian since centuries. And I'm standing here, there's no lack of protein, very healthy people, there's no issue. But also, I'd like to say something about vegetarianism in Egypt also. But practically, yes, right now, it is a bit difficult, but it's getting better. It's getting much, much, much better. Well, talking about organic food also, well, it doesn't really help because organic food is also expensive. It doesn't help everybody. It helps those who can afford, but otherwise not really. But I would like to point out some practical ways of improving your diet, be it veg or non-veg. Anything more than moderate, moderation is the word, consistency is the word. You want to remain consistent, you want to remain moderate in whatever you eat, meat or vegetarian. As I said, we come from a place in India where for centuries nobody has had meat, but that does not mean that everybody is healthy over there. We have heart issues, we have lung issues, we have diet problems, we have obesity. So, being a vegetarian will not necessarily make you healthy. You will binge on something else, you might not binge on something else, but let's be more practical. Being vegetarian is ethical, yes it is, but not always healthy. You have to make your choices. You eat your meat, make your choice. You eat your eggs, make your choice. The market will tell you, you'll see on the TV that there's a smiling face of a chicken laying an egg saying, oh, I'm happy. But of course, you saw the video, they are not happy. It's just a marketing gimmick. There's Hardee's advertisement, Farak mushroom in Hardee's or something. So that's, wow, they have a nice jingle. I memorized that jingle, it's a nice rhyming thing. But wow, that doesn't help. You have to make your choices. Being a vegetarian is good, but also practically what you would want to do is include a lot of different colored vegetables. lot of different colored vegetables. That really helps. It keeps your minerals, protein, it keeps your minerals and vitamins source like permanent, different. You have a variety. The body receives variety. You don't want to depend only on food. There's fasulia beda, there's fasulia hamra. There are a lot of different lentils. Full suya. Ask me, I'll tell you about Egypt. Vegetarianism in Egypt. I'll tell you the options. Just choose your options. You have different stuff to eat different days. Kosher is good, but there's a lot of fried stuff also inside. There's a lot of shatta also inside. So you want to stay a little away from it. Moderation is the word. You want to moderate whatever you eat. Tameya, wow, it is fantastic and vegetarian, but also it is fried. Take care. So you want to just moderate everything. So that will really, really help you and the environment. And go local, organic. Wow, fantastic. Organic from the farms of Switzerland. But what about your farms in Egypt? Buy from there, be local. That's more eco-friendly than anything else. And food, as Leslie also mentioned, say for example, you are in Australia and someone serves you molokhaya, and all your memories of Cairo and Egypt and everything come back to you. Why is that? Is molokhaya only protein, vitamin, minerals, etc., etc.? No, there's a character, there's a feeling in a food which is much more, it's beyond your normal carbohydrate, protein and fat. That is the practical way of putting in words what energy of a food is. Energy is not calories alone. It is something beyond. Those memories, like I cannot feed you spinach and talk to and bring memories of molokhaya. There are memories involved. This is nothing but the spiritual side of what you eat. A food can bring memories, as she also mentioned that every atom has a memory. This is quantum physics. We are not talking we are talking about where science ends and spirituality begins. This is the connection. We are talking about quantum physics. Food is also under the same umbrella. Every atom has a memory. Whatever you eat has a quality. If you have, you slaughter a chicken and eat it, it has a certain, I would not say negative, but not so very good energy to it. You eat fresh, you eat organic, not just packed since last 6 months and that is organic. No, it has lost some of its nutritional, not the physical caloric value, but the energetic value of the food is diminished.
basically, it started as an experiment. I was experimenting with vegetarianism. I decided to be vegetarian for a week, and then I felt really light, both physically and spiritually. I felt elevated, and so I decided to prolong it to a month, and then I decided not to go back because I really felt a difference. I mean, spiritually, I feel very, very light, and of course, I needed to explain the physical effects. No meat, no being sluggish. I mean, I'm always light and moving, and it feels great.